well in any key. And as I said, I alternate keys every day, but today I'm just going to show you the C major version of these exercises. So in the first exercise, you isolate the notes in which the thumb goes under. In the C major scale, that would be E and F, because the fingering that I do is 1, 2, 3, then the thumb on F, and then 1, 4, and then the thumb on C again. So it's B, C, and E, F. So I practice those two moments by isolating them and putting my wrist as high as I can without tensing up, and leaving a lot of room for the thumb to be able to go under, and then putting the wrist back down while pressing down the note. Then I add in one note before the B, so the A. And then I add in the G as well. And then I play this group of notes fast. I do the same for the E and F. And then the same for the left hand. In the left hand, it would be A and G, and then E and C. What is important while practicing this exercise is not only that the wrist is completely relaxed and doing this movement of going up and down, but also that your elbow is relaxed. I would try to avoid your elbow going up here or tensing up, of course. And I always make sure by holding it with my other hand and making sure that I could just press it and I could move it around. My teacher used to say that I should imagine my elbow floating on top of oil. So imagine that you have oil here and your elbow is kind of loosely lying on this oily surface, and you can just very effortlessly move it around. So after this exercise, I go on to the next one, in which you isolate the thumb and press the other fingers at the same time. So in this case, you would press the thumb, then 2, 3, then again the thumb, and then 2, 3, 4 at the same time as a cluster, basically. And whenever you have the thumb, you put your wrist down. Whenever you have the other finger, you put your wrist up. And you do it in a kind of dotted rhythm. So the right hand would be like this. Change up the dotted rhythm. And then you do exactly the same thing for the left hand. On every side, so you press the thumb and the second finger, and then you press the third finger and the thumb, and thereby you practice that moment where the thumb goes under the fingers again. And then for the other part, you play the thumb, second and third finger as a cluster, and then you play the fourth finger and the thumb together. hand, it would look like this. And then also starting from the top, just to switch it up. I try to give every cluster that I play a tiny impulse, and I do that in order to make sure that I'm completely relaxed in my arm. So I kind of move my wrist forward a little bit, and do the same here. And in the left hand too. The next exercise is one where you always stop on the second finger and then play the thumb where it's going to go. So for example, you play C, D, stop on the second finger, and then tap the thumb on the F. And you play pretty quickly until the next second finger, which would be G, and then tap the thumb on the C.
Дедушка Мороз, подари мне Ниву. Владик. Владик? Да. Твой подарок. Держи.
It's very important that you wait until your hand is really completely relaxed. I know I keep saying make sure that you're relaxed, but it's really, really essential that you don't even have the tiniest bit of tension, because here if you have a bit of tension, it doesn't really bother you. It's not such a big obstacle. Of course you can keep playing, but the point is once you get to the super hard studies and super hard technical moments in concertos, it is going to bother you. So make sure that even these simple exercises, you have zero amount of tension in order to just not have it later on. So I play the second finger and wait, even if it takes 5 seconds, I just wait until I really feel, okay, everything is released, then I tap the thumb. I always stop at the second finger, do the same release, and then play until the next second finger. And I do that, of course, to practice what comes after that, which is the moment where the fingers go over the thumb, going back down. And then I do the same thing for the left hand, vice versa, so going down and upwards. Another thing to look out for when playing that exercise is that the fingers that are not playing, so the thumb is tapping, second one is holding the note, but the other three fingers, third, fourth, and fifth, are not playing, that they are also completely relaxed, or as my teacher used to say, almost asleep. They're sleeping, only the thumb is awake. And then when you have this fast moment where you're quickly playing until the next second finger, that's the only moment when they're active, and ideally they're only going to be active while playing their key. Of course, this is only something that happens in your mind. Of course, they're going to be also active while the other fingers are playing, but it's good to imagine as minimal action as possible and try to make your fingers be as still as possible when they're not playing, because it also increases your chances of being very relaxed and not tense at all. The next exercise is one where you basically go through one octave of the scale by adding one note. You start out with two notes and then add a note each time. Here, once again, I know I might sound a little bit boring saying the same thing all the time, but once again, you only continue when you are completely relaxed. So I start out with two notes. Relax, maybe even touch my elbow to make sure. And the same for the left hand. And after this exercise, I go on and start playing the full scale. The first way I do that is by playing it in 4 different ways. I start with 1 octave, then I play double tempo for 2 octaves, then I play triple tempo, or you could say triplets, for 3 octaves, and then I play quadruple tempo, or just the 16 notes, for 4 octaves. When I play the 1 octave, I make sure to do what I also did for the clusters. Really give each note its own impulse, keep very relaxed fingers. Then when I get into the 2, 3, and 4 octaves, I try to focus on being more legato and playing even and as minimal movement as possible. For the clusters, really give each note its own impulse, keep very relaxed fingers. Then when I get into the 2, 3, and 4 octaves, I try to focus on being more legato and playing even and as minimal movement as possible. I used to put on the metronome in order to increase the tempo slowly. So for example, I would start with 120 and then go to 160, not in one day, but within, let's say, months, as you feel comfortable. So this was kind of a medium tempo that I just showed you, but for me, today, I would play it in this tempo. But again, it's not about playing it fast immediately. This is obviously a process that takes time, and increasing tempo as the weeks and months progress is basically what got me to playing it this fast now. So after this, I put both hands together and play them up and down, and also going outwards and inwards again. Yes, that takes, but again, it's not about playing it fast immediately. This is obviously a process that takes time, and increasing the tempo as the weeks and months progress is basically what got me to playing it this fast now. So after this, I put both hands together and play them up and down, and also going outwards and inwards again. I hope that you enjoyed this more in-depth video about scales specifically. As I said in the beginning, this is not the only warm-up thing that I do on a daily basis. I usually reduce the exercises for the scales a little bit, and also do some arpeggios, some chords, some general warming up and stretching exercises for my hands. But when I really want to focus on scales, this is what I do. And it works in every key, and I would really recommend doing these exercises if you're interested in building up a secure and very reliable technique as the base. I really hope that you found this video helpful, and that you can find ways to improve your skills with these exercises. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!
I'm going to share with you what I intended to say if I had been elected in 2016.
Grade 5 Oral Section B. You're going to have a list of notes to sing, and first of all you'll get the key chord and the starting note. You'll be able to see the notes, but if you just sing them in the bar's rest before they sound, so you can tell if you got it right or not. Okay, so get ready.
E-Oral Trainer, describing the character of a piece for grades 4 to 8 oral. In this video, you will learn how to describe the character of a piece for grades 4 and above ABRSM oral tests. You will also be required to identify other features such as dynamics, articulation, tempo, and tonality. But these were covered in previous videos. Here, we will concentrate on just the character of the piece. That said, the character of the piece is made by the other features: dynamics, articulation, tempo, and tonality. First of all, let's take a close look at the question you will be asked in the exam, which is, what gives this piece its musical character? This is a two-part question. In other words, you have to describe the character of the piece and say what musical features give the piece that character. If you took a look at the model answers given in sample oral test practice books, every time these above factors, that is, dynamics, articulation, tempo, and tonality, come up as answers for what gives the music its character. For example, this might be a model answer. Staccato notes at a fast tempo, quite loud and in a major key, give this piece a happy, lively character. Next, I will advise that you prepare a few set answers. Don't get caught out on the day trying to think what mood the piece conveys. Most music can fall into a few simple categories. For example, happy, sad, relaxed, intense. And finally, prepare the next question you will be asked, even before the examiner asks it. In grades 4 and 5, you will hear a piece and answer questions about the piece, and then the examiner will play a phrase from the same piece and ask you to clap back the rhythm and state how many beats were in a bar. Now you could be thinking about how many beats were in a bar on the very first playing, and not wait until the examiner plays it for the last time. So let's try a few examples. Listen to these short extracts, keeping in mind the musical features of dynamics, articulation, tempo, and tonality, and then describe the character of the piece in terms of these. The fairly fast tempo, frequent use of staccato notes, and the major key give this piece a happy, lively character. Now listen to the second extract.